The Kansas autumn afternoon carried a biting chill Diana Carter hadn't felt in all her years stationed in D.C. The military SUV rolled across familiar country roads, past cornfields ready for harvest, and stopped in front of Carter Tech Systems, the state's largest civilian defense contractor, founded by her older brother. Diana stepped out, her deep blue dress uniform sharply pressed, adorned with rows of gleaming medals. Curious glances followed her as she entered the lobby. She smiled, composed, as if those looks no longer held the power over her that they once did. She had served 30 years in the United States military, led operations in the Middle East, survived harsh border outposts in Alaska, and made life-or-death decisions no corporate CEO would ever have to face. And today, she was home, not to rest, not for a family reunion, but to lead a strategic integration project between the Department of Defense and Carter Tech Systems. A top-secret operation worth hundreds of millions of dollars, with the potential to shape the next generation of America's defense systems. The irony? No one in her family knew Diana was heading the project. To them, she was just the single sister in her 50s, serving in the military because she didn't want to get married, about to retire soon. Her father, a retired high school teacher, always praised her brother, James Carter, the man who built an empire with brains and market savvy. Her mother, during every phone call, would only ask, "Are you thinking about settling down yet? You can't keep transferring units forever." Diana had never felt the need to explain. Not because she was hiding anything, she'd just grown used to being misunderstood. And now she chose silence. She didn't announce her return. She would let the truth speak for itself, at the right time, in the right place. Tomorrow, at the board meeting with the entire executive team, including her brother, Diana would take the center seat. And for the first time, they would find out. That quiet sister of theirs was the colonel in charge of the top-secret project they thought belonged solely to the company. Her mother's kitchen was just the same as always: faded oak cabinets, a fridge covered in photos of grandkids at graduation, and, front and center on the opposite wall, a framed photo of James receiving a medal from the state governor. Diana stood there, holding a glass of water, scanning the room as if she were a guest in the house she grew up in. The first reunion in 5 years came without fireworks, without cake. Her mother gave her a lukewarm hug before returning to the kitchen to cook stew. Her father just said, "Oh, you're back? Got tired of the military, huh?" She had hoped, however faintly, that this return, after decades of serving her country, might be seen differently. But it was still the same look. Still the same way they spoke of James with endless pride. The Pentagon just invited him to help design a new radar system. Looks like he'll land another major contract. No one knew the person approving that contract was Diana. No one asked, "What have you been doing all this time?" Or, "Are you okay?" Just the same offhand questions. "Thinking about retirement yet? Maybe you could start a training program for veterans?" Like those other women who got out. Seemingly harmless questions, but they cut deep, like knives. Diana didn't need praise, but she needed to be seen. Growing up, James had always been the bright one, the smart one, destined to go far. And she learned how to survive without needing anyone to carry her. But in her parents' eyes, the military was just a tough job, while a defense tech company was the real pinnacle of success. She remembered the meeting 3 months ago in Washington. Project name: Sentinel Phoenix, a federal defense coordination system. She had been chosen to oversee the initial integration phase in the Midwest. And instantly, she saw the name of the civilian partner, Carter Tech Systems. She smirked at the company name on the dossier. How ironic. The person she'd be supervising was her own brother. She knew the truth wouldn't be easily accepted, not by the partner, and especially not by her own family. That was the greatest tension of her life, not between the military and the private sector, but between two worlds. One that demanded titles, and one that required quiet sacrifice. The main conference room at Carter Tech Systems glowed under LED lights. On the screen, the project logo appeared, Sentinel Phoenix, Phase 1 briefing. The team of engineers, security consultants, technical directors, and board members slowly filed in. The seat at the head of the table, the one reserved for the project lead, was empty. A single document sat neatly in front of it, with a cover page that read, Colonel Diana M. Carter, Lead Joint Command Representative. James walked in, just like always, gray suit, leather briefcase, polite smile. He nodded to everyone, his eyes pausing at the empty seat at the head. He frowned. They must have sent someone from the Pentagon, a tech team member whispered. I heard the commanding officer is coming in person, someone else murmured. Just then, the door opened. Diana walked in. The room seemed to freeze. She wasn't in ceremonial uniform. She wore standard combat fatigues, name patch, colonel insignia, campaign command badge. She was calm, avoiding prolonged eye contact, and walked straight to the head of the table, the seat everyone assumed was James's. James's smile stiffened. Diana? You're here as. She looked up, voice steady, neither loud nor soft, but unmistakably clear. As the Joint Command Lead of Project Sentinel Phoenix, I'm the Department of Defense's commanding representative. The air in the room thickened. No one spoke. A few people flipped through the documents in their hands, double-checking the cover. Yes, it said Diana Carter. James raised an eyebrow, lips tightening. Why wasn't I notified? Diana looked him square in the eye. Because I don't report to your company. She opened the file, powered on the projector, and began the briefing. Integration procedures, security protocols, tactical data modeling, spoken not in theory, but in the language of someone who had lived it on the ground. No one interrupted. No one could. For 40 minutes, she was no longer the quiet sister. She was Colonel Carter, the one commanding the project that held their company's future in its hands. After the meeting, James left quietly without saying a word. But that night, her mother called. The first question wasn't, "How are you?" but, "Did you really have to do that in front of everyone?" And that's when Diana knew. The real battle wasn't happening at company headquarters. It was at the very home she grew up in. Diana remembered when she was 16. Her high school held an awards ceremony to honor outstanding students. She was named Top Military Training Unit Commander of the Year, a title rarely given to a girl. Her mother didn't come. Her father arrived late and only had time to say, "Don't you want to try something more practical? Don't waste your time on that soldier stuff. It doesn't last." James, on the other hand, got a family celebration when he won the statewide programming competition. From that moment, she learned not to expect anything. Not praise. Not pride. Not recognition. She chose West Point for 2 reasons: a full scholarship, and because she wanted a place where she didn't need them. She endured harsh years, from Middle Eastern sandstorms to winter marches in Alaska, from life-or-death decisions to saving her team from disaster. Every time she came home, her parents would ask, "What's James building these days? Have you heard?" No one ever asked about her deployments. No one knew she had commanded 3 bases and led a major defense strategy center in Europe. To her family, James was the one shaping America's future. She was just someone doing a nameless, dangerous job. Once, she tried to share about a mission that nearly cost her life, an ambush at the border. Her mother simply said, "Why don't you ask for a desk job, sweetie? It's not good for a woman to keep risking her life like that." She didn't blame them, but the years of silence weighed on her like a stone on her chest. Not because they hated her, but because they never understood who she was. Diana never said it out loud, but she didn't join the military just to serve the country. She joined to prove she was strong enough to survive without anyone's approval. But now she was the one making decisions. And James's project, his future, had to go through her to move forward. The past she never resolved was now knocking at her door. Old wounds hadn't healed, and a new battle had already begun. She sat alone in the temporary office they had set up for her on the 10th floor. The very room that used to be her father's when he was one of Carter Tech's founding members. The oil painting of the Rockies was still on the wall, the worn leather chair still sturdy. But now she sat there not as a daughter, but as the official representative of the Department of Defense. And it didn't make her feel powerful. On the screen in front of her were pages of risk analysis reports. The Sentinel Phoenix project was entering the system integration phase, and even the smallest error could cost millions. The engineering team was clearly talented, but undisciplined. James had strategic vision, but he worked on instinct and often bypassed security protocols, something the military would never overlook. She knew she had to make a decision. Either request a full replacement of the core tech team, including James, or accept personal responsibility if anything went wrong. And this wasn't just a technical decision. It would be a declaration of war against her own family. She looked out through the glass and saw James in the hallway, talking with a small group. They laughed. His eyes briefly flicked toward her office, then turned away. No anger, no warmth, just distance. A voice echoed in her head. Are you doing this for the country, or for the pride that's been ignored for 20 years? She wasn't sure anymore. That night, in her short-term rental apartment, she opened the box where she kept her military mementos. Medals, letters of commendation, a photo of her squad after a successful extraction in Kandahar. So many lives, so much responsibility, so many sleepless nights. But what she had truly wanted, a respectful look from her mother, a single proud word from her father, had never come. She could command a battalion, but she couldn't get her own family to listen. And in that moment, she realized the real battle wasn't between her and James. It was between the woman she had become and the girl who once longed to be loved without needing to prove anything. On Monday morning, the main conference room at Carter Tech buzzed with anticipation. The engineering directors, defense representatives, security consultants, and executive board members were all present. On the big screen was the Phoenix Defense System diagram, the project the company was betting its future on. Diana entered, uniform crisp, gaze sharp as steel, and immediately noticed her mother sitting in the observer row. She had come early, without warning. That same composed face quiet, reserved, but her eyes held something unreadable. James was presenting. He spoke fluidly, moved confidently, led the team like a natural-born leader. His slides were polished. But when Diana opened the report to her left, she spotted 3 security checkpoints, still unmarked as verified. Under military standards, that was unacceptable. James, she interrupted, why haven't the C3 security parameters been validated yet? James paused for a beat, then replied with a half-teasing tone. You've been here 3 days and already want to retrain the whole team? We're still running internal tests. It'll be done by Wednesday. Diana kept her voice steady. This isn't a suggestion. It's a standard. Without those verifications, the system doesn't qualify for trial deployment. I'll have to file a progress suspension report. The room went silent. One of the engineers whispered, does she really have the authority to do that? And James, instead of responding professionally, let out a light laugh. Welcome home, Colonel Diana. Still the same as when you were a kid, rigid as ever. The words sounded casual, but cut like a knife. Her mother shook her head, unclear who she was disappointed in. Diana stood up, no microphone needed. You think this is personal? Let me be clear. If this system fails, it's not just a financial loss. It puts hundreds of American soldiers in the field at risk. I don't adapt when lives are on the line. Silence. No one spoke. No one stood up for her. And in that moment, she realized something painful. In the place that once felt like home, she was completely alone. This wasn't a technical debate anymore. This was a battle, one woman being dismissed as too rigid, too harsh, not understanding family when all she was doing was the right thing. She walked out of the room, hiding the trembling in her clenched hands. Behind the closed door, the discussion resumed, but no one called her back. 3 days after that tense meeting, Diana received an internal message from the Security Risk Analysis team, indicating that the Sentinel Phoenix encryption logs had been altered after midnight, a restricted timeframe under military protocol. She checked the access logs. The account used, James Carter. Internal IP. Company server. No doubt about it. She froze, gripping the edge of her chair. If this was true, James hadn't just bypassed protocol. He might be actively covering up a security flaw. A flaw the military would never tolerate. Just then, Rachel, her mother, walked into the office. James is under internal investigation, Diana said directly. Her mother frowned, but didn't look surprised. You think I didn't know? Diana's breath caught. How long have you known? Since before you came back, her mother sighed. I told James to stop. But you know how he is. He refuses to be controlled, especially by his little sister. Diana rose slowly. So you let him compromise national security? I didn't choose between the company and my children, Diana. But you did. You always chose the outside. You chose the military. Never your family. Her voice cracked. You never looked back. Diana said nothing. The blow didn't come from James. It came from the one person she'd still hoped would understand. Then Rachel placed an envelope on the desk. This is the project takeover contract. If you really want control of Phoenix, I'll transfer oversight to you. But know this, it means pushing James out. For good. Diana opened the envelope. Legal documents. All it needed was her signature. It felt like holding a loaded gun pointed at her own family. But for the first time, she had no doubts. She wasn't the one being underestimated. She was the one they feared might see through everything. And the contempt? It wasn't because she wasn't good enough. It was because she was too different. Too strong. Too unmanageable. Right after receiving the envelope, Diana began the legal steps to seize control of the Sentinel Phoenix project. But James didn't go quietly. At a special board meeting, James publicly challenged her. Diana, you don't understand the system at its core. You've only just come back after all these years. Don't turn a family matter into company politics. Those words, from someone who was once her little brother, struck Diana like a knife to the heart. She kept her composure, but inside, the sense of betrayal and isolation deepened. After the meeting, Diana sat quietly in her office, gazing out at the Seattle skyline as dusk fell. The city lights flickered on, but inside, all she felt was the darkness of doubt and disappointment. Rachel called. Are you okay? I know this is hard, but you need to be stronger. Diana choked up. He's not just fighting me at work. He's making me feel like a stranger in my own family. She realized that in this fight to control the project, she wasn't just facing an external challenge. She was battling to protect her self-worth and dignity in the face of deep-rooted family biases. One night, coming home, she found the living room empty. No warmth. No sense of belonging. She sat silently on the sofa, feeling the pain of a soldier who'd returned home, only to remain unseen. But deep within her, a fire still burned. She knew she had to rise stronger, not just for the project, but for herself, for the path she chose. After days of tension and emotional strain, Diana received a call from her father, Thomas Carter. A quiet man, but one whose voice carried weight in the family. He invited her to his private office, a space Rachel rarely entered. Looking her straight in the eyes, his voice calm but resolute. Diana, I know you've been fighting, not just for the project, but for yourself. I used to doubt your choices. But now I have to admit, you've proven yourself far beyond the gossip and doubts. His words weren't just recognition. They were the beginning of a long-awaited reconciliation. He continued. You've carried yourself like a true colonel, decisive, principled, and unyielding. I'm proud of you. Diana felt a rush of emotion, pride, relief, and tears she could no longer hold back. It was the validation she had longed for, not just from her family, but from herself. This meeting marked a pivotal turning point in Diana's journey. She was no longer the disregarded girl of the past, but a strong, mature woman finally recognized for who she was. With this newfound acceptance, Diana prepared for the next steps in the Sentinel Phoenix project, not just armed with expertise, but with unshakable confidence and resilience. Just days after the meaningful conversation with her father, Diana walked into the conference room at Pinnacle Defense Systems to oversee a critical test run for the Sentinel Phoenix project. It was the first time she directly coordinated a real-world testing phase, where any error could result in serious consequences. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Colleagues and partners watched her every move with skeptical eyes, still unsure whether to place their trust in someone who had just returned after years away. When the main equipment unexpectedly malfunctioned, anxiety began to rise. But Diana remained calm. She quickly analyzed the data, coordinated with the technical team, identified the root cause, and proposed a solution. "We need to recalibrate the secondary sensor system and rerun the test within 30 minutes, she instructed firmly. Her decisiveness and deep knowledge of military technology shifted the energy in the room. The doubtful stares slowly transformed into quiet respect. As a result, the test run was an overwhelming success, restoring faith not only in the project, but in Diana herself. Colleagues began to see her not merely as a woman returning from the past, but as a capable, reliable leader with real grit. Diana could feel the shift, a major step forward in reclaiming her rightful place, not just at work, but within her family and society. Even though the Sentinel Phoenix trial had been a resounding success, not everyone at the company welcomed Diana's return. Some former colleagues, especially among middle management, began to grow wary, even quietly undermining her credibility. One of them was Mark, the head of engineering, who had always viewed Diana as a formidable rival. He began spreading rumors, questioning her leadership and claiming she was only holding her position because of her family name and former military rank. At one team meeting, Mark challenged her out of the blue. "Are you sure you're fully up to speed on the latest tech we're implementing? Because I noticed a few areas where you seemed behind." Though his tone was confrontational, Diana refused to be baited. She replied clearly and calmly, "I'm always open to learning. But today's success proves I'm more than capable of leading this project." Tensions escalated as Mark and a few others began working in silos, creating roadblocks that threatened the progress Diana had made. Beyond the professional pressure, Diana also faced emotional strain as people around her, including. It was an emotional turning point that gave her the strength to continue facing the challenges ahead, both in her career and in life. 5 years after returning home and navigating family struggles, Diana Carter had firmly established herself as an exceptional leader at Pinnacle Defense Systems. The Sentinel Phoenix project under her direction had become one of the most advanced military initiatives of the decade, receiving praise from both experts and colleagues. But beyond the professional accolades, what fulfilled Diana most was the renewed love and support gradually restored within her family. Her relationships with her parents and brother had grown more genuine and heartfelt, no longer clouded by comparison or doubt, but grounded in mutual respect and understanding. At a cozy family gathering, Diana shared, "The most important thing I've learned is that while each of us walks a different path, it's the acceptance and support of loved ones that gives us the strength to overcome anything." She emphasized that personal achievements can never feel truly complete without recognition from ourselves and those closest to us. Her journey had taught her this. Staying true to your passion while nurturing your personal relationships is the key to a meaningful life. She hoped her story would inspire others who may be facing doubt or lack of support, that it's never too late to define your worth and build a balance between career and family. In the end, Diana smiled to herself and thought, the greatest victory isn't the awards or the success of a project. It's living authentically and being loved for who you truly are. After all the turning points and triumphs in her life, Diana not only maintained her leadership position, but also became a source of inspiration for colleagues and young professionals entering the field. She regularly participated in talks and conferences, sharing her story of overcoming family expectations and navigating the demanding world of military service, a field still largely dominated by men. Diana understood that mutual understanding and support are the foundations of true personal growth. That's why she initiated mentoring programs for women in defense, helping them build confidence and leadership skills. At the same time, she continued to reconnect and strengthen her ties with family, turning old wounds into stronger bridges. She and her parents and brother began planning shared trips and family activities to nurture their bond and create space for emotional connection. Out of the hardships of the past, Diana came to realize that anyone can be a guiding light for others, not only through personal achievements, but through kindness and the willingness to share. She believed the future wasn't just about big career milestones, but about building sincere, lasting connections with family and community. Diana dreamed of a new generation of female military leaders, strong, empathetic, and able to inspire one another. With that vision, she moved forward each day carrying not only knowledge and experience, but a warm heart and deep love for those she held dear. Sitting by the window, looking out over the glowing city at night, Diana Carter watched the lights shimmer like little sparks of hope illuminating the road she had traveled. She thought back to the difficult years, the loneliness of the military path, the misunderstandings from her family, and the many times she had doubted herself. But it was precisely those challenges that had shaped the woman she had become, resilient, grounded, and deeply appreciative of the power of self-acceptance. She understood now that success isn't just measured in titles or wealth, but in peace of mind and a deep sense of fulfillment. Family might not always understand or agree with the paths we choose, but patience and sincerity can slowly break down even the most stubborn barriers. Diana shared, "We can't change the past or force others to see us exactly the way we wish. But we can change the way we see ourselves and learn to love who we are without conditions." She believed that everyone holds a unique value and a story worth telling. Diana's philosophy was simple: live truthfully. Don't let fear or judgment define you. And always trust in the path that's yours alone. Life is a long journey with many turns, she said, and true happiness lies in the freedom to be yourself, to be loved, and to be seen for who you really are, starting with your own eyes. With that reflection, Diana closed the chapter of her story, not just as a soldier or a leader, but as a human being who had found harmony between her career and her family, between outward success and inner joy.